Big up yourself.
Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I have been waiting to do this video for the longest time, and I was like, you know what, like let me get the camera out, because when I first came across this video, and of course it sparked up so much conversation, I had to be in the conversation, as you guys know, and I was outraged, and I was just like, raw, like this really highlights the separation that we have, not just in terms of like knowledge, but in terms of like culture and in terms of understanding. That I feel like is what we need to focus on, and is what we need to talk about, because we're very quick to talk about when the white man comes and attacks the black culture, even with topics like cultural appropriation, which they did speak about. But when it's within our own, like, we tend to just quickly just talk about it and then brush it under the carpet. But we're not gonna do that. Like, we're gonna sit on this for a second, because I feel like there's a lot of education that needs to happen like right now, and it really has shown the lack of education that we have even within ourselves, like even as black people. You guys already know what I'm going to be talking about. Zizi and Yinka have obviously given an amazing platform on Channel 4 with the show called Unapologetic, which I think is great, and I completely celebrate that that win for them, you know, especially for the culture. Like, they really are the driving force right now. They really are the voice that, you know, that are carrying the culture, and I think it is absolutely amazing. So platforms like this are needed, and we should be applauding them for that. Now, they recently did their show with Yardie, and they had a couple of other guest panels, and this erupted like an outrage, like a conversation. For the most part, like, it was definitely warranted, and I feel like, again, moments like this are missed moments to educate. Like, I feel like when they're gonna have conversations like this, and they're gonna bring in a guest who is a great example of defining whether it's appropriation or appreciation, or whether it's taken from the culture, or what does a white man, a white Yardie man look like, and what does that entail of, and educate not just black people but also white people that, you know, in the Caribbean or in Jamaica specifically, like, this is what it can look like. Because I feel like, for me, the Caribbean is one of the most multicultural regions. Regardless to whether it has minorities of Americans, Chinese, Indians, it has such a mix of ancestry, and we really don't delve into that. Like, we only associate Jamaicans, for example, with just like black people, but it is so mixed, and I think it's important to highlight that and to educate that. And I think that would have been a great opportunity for White Yardie to expand on that, being that he is a man that grew up in Jamaica. Just because he lived 3 months out of Jamaica and he wasn't born in Jamaica, but the fact that he was raised abroad, like, he is the embodiment of the culture, does not mean that he is not a part of the culture. I've gone a little bit too far. Let me just wind back a little bit. So on the panel they had, I don't really know their full names, but on the panel they had Zizi, Yinka, who are the host, and then they had a comedian called Dane, and then they had Anaya, and then they had the guy who is a cultural journalist, and he goes by the name of Nicholas. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've never come across him. Like, I didn't even know who he was until this time. So they did speak about loads of other topics. They had loads of other guests on there as well, but for this particular this topic, they brought in White Yardie as a guest. Obviously, when this came out, White Yardie did put out a clip on his Instagram, and he made a post, and he said there is a difference between race and nationality. This post is not to bring anyone down. The first time on UK TV as a guest, which I was there to discuss topics, but seemed it was more about if me real or fake, I really want to do a documentary, and I am here for this documentary. Like, I'm waiting for this documentary because I think it'll be so vital. And for the fact that he's like, I was there to discuss a topic, but it really seemed to be like a personal attack. Like, that's really what it seemed like for me. That's the impression that I was getting, especially from Nicholas, because he was asking really ridicule and offensive and really uneducated questions. Like, we're gonna get into that. And so for the fact that he even felt like that, and you could really feel the intensity like in the room, and they didn't show these other clips on social media, but I watched the full show, and you know, you could even see, like, aside from that topic, I can't remember what they were discussing, but there was, I wouldn't say a clash, but you could see that there was a back and forth. Okay, I don't want to give you guys not a back and forth, but just a little riff between Nicholas and what Yardie must have made a comment which was his opinion, and Nicholas came to kind of like counteract that, and what Yardie had to be like, yo, like, I'm gonna cut you right there because that's not what I'm trying to say. And I feel like Nicholas already had a premeditated opinion of what Yardie before doing the interview, and he came with that mindset. Like, he didn't come with an open mind, and I think that's why he came across like kind of judgmental and kind of like, oh well, you know, if that community has accepted you, well then I guess. And it just kind of like, well, you actually putting me in the box of, if you want to call yourself Jamaican, then you can call yourself a Jamaican. And it's like, well, it's not whether they accept me, it's who I am. Like, what part of that do you not understand? We're not talking about me waking up one day and saying, oh, I want to be a little boy today, or oh, you know, I want to be an animal, I want to be a cat today. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not talking about identifying myself as something that I am completely not. Like, that is the box that you're putting me in, and I think that is what is offensive, and that's what it came across like when he asked him the question, like, so what do you like, when did you decide that you wanted to be Jamaican? Like, I just didn't understand where he was going with that. And you could already tell that by him asking him that question, he, in his head, he's like, well, I don't define you as Jamaican, so when did you decide? But did you even consider the fact that from 0 to 3 months, by the way, you're still like practically a newborn? Because when you buy baby clothes, it's 0 to 3 months, like, unless it's tiny baby. So therefore, you're still like a newborn, like, you're still a baby. So from 3 months to however many years, he was brought up in Jamaica. Like, do you understand that? Like, he couldn't speak. Like, at 3 months you can't speak, you can't do nothing. Like, you're at the bosom of your mother, so basically you're practically a newborn. Like, so he grew up in Jamaica. So it's not a thing where he decided and chose to be Jamaica chose him. Like, do you understand? Like I just don't understand why he didn't get that concept, and why he decided to go up the route of identifying as, because I think there's a really fine line. Like, I mean, I covered a story of a guy who now identifies as Korean. He decided he wanted to be Korean. White Yardie was brought up, raised, like, he grew up like in Jamaica culture. Like, he is part of that Jamaican culture, and that is what he was trying to emphasize on. So I really found that, when I love watching ZZ, and I feel like with ZZ, she does a lot of her research, and I was very disappointed that as a journalist, it seemed like he didn't really do his research on White Yardie enough to understand that this isn't a man who decided to just clothe himself in Jamaica culture. This is somebody who Jamaica culture is within him, because he grew up there. Like, this is who he is. If you had done your research, then you wouldn't have gone through the route that you went through, to the point where you have to now question the man's citizenship. Like, are you Priti Patel? Like, hey, what do you mean, please? Like, how are you on the show asking me, questioning me about my citizenship? please, like, are you home office? Like, I don't understand. Forget the question about when did you decide. Like, that hit the roof. But it was, for me, it was him questioning his citizenship. That was done for me. For me, I was just like, rah, boy, like, you're actually done out here. Like, I'm so sorry, as a journalist, like, I don't understand. Like, that wasn't even professional. Like, that was cut out. Like I like, that was, in that moment, that was like, no, I want to now try and prove to people sitting there, like, you know, try and be all smart and prove to people that he's not Jamaican. Don't let him fool you. He was really trying to segregate him, and I'm so happy with the way that he handled it, because he really handled it with so much poise, so much class, and just, like, you know, he really came to, like, educate the guy. Like, listen, brother, like, let me tell you, like, he's more Jamaican than you, it seems. Like, where are you even from? Like, let's begin with that, because, like, if somebody comes to you and asks you, like, when did you identify yourself as British? Like, are you British? Because I know some of these black people love to be like, I am British, I'm British. So when they come and they question you, your British citizenship, like, when did you identify yourself as British? What makes you British? Like, how we living in this world, and we are forever being questioned about our citizenship, like, and you know how that makes you feel. Bearing in mind that you probably came here, not him particularly, just in general, you probably came here when you was, like, in your teens or in your adulthood, and you find it offensive for someone to question your British citizenship, but it's okay for you to question a man who's been there since he was 3 months old, his citizenship. Like, please make it make sense. I was a little bit disappointed with Yinka, in the sense that she's known White Yardie for years and years and years, like way before he was even White Yardie, and she never really, like, stepped in to kind of be like, listen, like, I know this guy, la 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 la, like, do you get what I mean? Like, I think that would have been a great timing for her to come in and do that. And I'm happy with the fact that Zizi kind of asked that question, like, what gives us the right, you know, to question White Yardie? Like, he's probably more Jamaican than us. Like, do you get what I mean? So I'm really glad that she came in with those pointers. I think it was very poor in terms of the interview. I think it was like a personal attack, to be honest. I think it was unprofessional, and I feel like this was a great opportunity for us to really learn the different dynamics and the different ethnicities, and the fact that they are Chinese, Indians, whites, blacks. Like, it's a multicultural region. Like, there are so many different countries and within that region where it's so diverse. Like, the Caribbean is like one of the most diverse regions. Why is it that, you know, because it's a white man, you want to now be like, well, if they accept you, then I suppose you can, if you want, identify as Jamaican? Like, that's dumb. Like, who's accepted me? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not trying to get acceptance from anybody. Like, I was practically born there. Like, I grew up there. Like, just because I didn't come out of my mum, like, in a Jamaican hospital, like, imagine he was born in Jamaica, and then from 3 months he came here to the UK. Sorry guys, just in case you get confused, I'm not talking about White Yardie at this point. I was trying to give an example of a black man, not White Yardie turning black. So yeah. And he never went back as a black man, but wants to identify himself as Jamaican. Just because of the colour of his skin, that would be more appropriate and that would be more acceptable to call him Jamaican. Even though he didn't grow up there, he knows nothing about the culture. The only thing was, he was born in the Jamaican hospital from 3 months all the way through his life. He was raised and brought up in British culture, but because of the color of his skin, he would come out and he would say, I'm Jamaican, like, I'm part of Jamaican culture because I'm black, and I just decided that I want to be black. Like, do you understand how backward that is? But it would be acceptable because of the color of his skin, bearing in mind that there are actually white people, like, there are different people of, like, there are different races, like, in Jamaica, like, in the Caribbean. Like, That's what we need to focus on, rather than trying to segregate one man because of the color of his skin. I watched this and I was just like, wow, like, thank you very much for highlighting how uneducated and how like vividly dumb like we really are. Like, the guy was really acting like he was the gatekeeper to black culture or black people. And you know what, another thing that I actually appreciated with what Yardie said, which I do agree, like the fact that he said I identify myself with, I don't know if he said I identify myself, but he said something about Jamaican culture more so than with black culture, because black culture is so diverse. There's black British culture, there is so many different aspects of black culture, and I cannot say that I know or I'm at the center of black culture. Now Jamaica, yes, I can teach you and educate you all about that, and that's okay. And you know what, that's even perfect, because we don't know it all, but we all carry a piece of the puzzle. Like, someone might be like, I can tell you about Nigerian culture, I can tell you about Ghanaian culture, I can tell you about Congolese culture. Do you know what I mean? But if we all come together as a black community with the knowledge of these different aspects of black culture, then we can really teach on black history. Do you know what I mean? Because black history is so dynamic and so diverse, and it's okay to be like, right, like, I don't really know about that side of black culture, but hey, if you know, why don't we come together and we put together the piece of the puzzle? And that's what we need. And I feel like in that moment of honesty from White Yardie, I was like, if only black people can think like that and can actually be honest enough to say there is a demographic difference that we need to merge together. We need to understand and accept the fact that there is some type of differentiation, and that's okay. But if we can come together and say, do you know what, I love a little bit of that Jamaican culture, I love a little bit of this, I love a bit of that, like, let's come together, you know, and let's do this. And the bottom line is, the Caribbean consists of multi-ethnic and multi-racial groups, and it's important to understand that racial groups, and it's a shame that we missed out on a great opportunity to really learn about that. It really became about someone's personal experience, and in a really wrong way. And I didn't really hear much from Dave. I mean, his face said a lot, and I don't really know, to me it was more negative. I would have really liked to hear more about on his perspective. But yeah guys, that is just my opinion on that. I'm so sorry that this video is late, but I really wanted to watch the full thing before I spoke on it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button, make sure that your notification bell is on, and I'll speak to you guys in my next video. Peace guys.